This is another Stillwater Area High School mountain bike team video production. We're going to discuss rear derailleur adjustment in this video. Basic knowledge that the racer should have. The shifting and the clicking that we feel in our modern derailleurs comes from the lever. Here we can see if we twist the twist grip, we're pulling up and letting out certain amounts of cable. So this cable amount will be tied to the movement of the rear derailleur. The two basic types of shifters are the twist style. We're rotating part of the lever, twisting up our cable. A trigger style has different triggers, but it's the same concept. They're going to pull up and release certain amount of cable for each click. Let's look at some of the names of the rear derailleur, some of the component parts. Basically, we have two pulleys, SRAM 2 pulleys, Shimano 2 pulleys, Campagnolo 2 pulleys. The lower pulley is called the tension pulley. It pulls back on the chain and gives it tension. The top pulley guides the chain. It guides the chain to our sprockets. That's called the G pulley or guide pulley. There'll be a bolt that mounts it to the frame. The mounting bolt is here, or it's here for the SRAM. The linkage system here is stopped in its range by the H and L screw. So Shimano has an H and L screw, SRAM has the H and L. The H controls the outer stop, the L controls the innermost cog toward the spokes. The cable will pass to a cable stop. Cable will come around and attach to a pinch bolt. This is going to squash flat and hold tight the gear cable. So SRAM is here, Shimano sometimes is here. The B screw, which is at the back of the body, controls the body angle. So tightening the screw draws it back, loosening the screw lets it come forward. That positions our G pulley, the guide pulley, relative to our sprockets. Those are the basic parts. Let's have a look at how this mechanism, the rear derailleur, operates without the cassette sprocket. We can see what's going on a little better. This is an 8-speed. There's going to be 8 different positions that are going to correspond to the sprocket position of each of our gears. When we twist the lever or hit the trigger, it pulls the derailleur cable that's going to move this mechanism, and that's going to come across our cassette. So if I pull the lever here, we are in the first position cog, second, third, 4, 5, 6, 7. This would be the largest sprocket closest to our spokes. There are limit screws, they're called limit screws, that limit the linkage and stop it under the extreme innermost cog, and another screw to stop it on the outer. So we can come back across and watch again just how that works. Let's walk through what would be a basic limit screw setting. We're going to begin with the rear derailleur in the smallest sprocket. We're going to pedal and we're going to turn the barrel adjuster actually inward. We've slackened this cable a lot. We want to actually get this cable so loose the indexing doesn't work. The reason is we want to isolate two different features. The limit screw settings from our cable slackness or index setting. So we don't want the cable tightness or slackness to be limiting our motion of our derailleur. So first thing we're going to do is just pedal. Then we're going to just push a little bit on that lower pivot and shove that up and over. And notice it seems to shift up and it shifts down. So that does seem like a decent setting. But also, we're going to purposely pull a bit, take that knuckle and pull outward and see if we can make it. I can't make it shift off that cog. So that's actually a good limit screw setting. It does shift down to the smallest cog, but I can't make it come off the cog. So let's have a look at what would be a bad setting. So we're going to purposely loosen the limit screw, the H screw, the outer control screw, just to show you what would happen on a setting that's not good. First thing it's doing is skipping around a little bit, but if we also pull on that, we can see it's trying to skip off and toward the frame. So that is a sample of too loose an H setting. We're able to make it jam into the frame. So we have too much outer motion, and we would want to tighten this back down until we had a good setting once again. That's dropping down quickly, but if I pull on it, I can't make it shift over. That would be adequate. So too tight a setting. What if the H screw, what if we run that screw in too far? Let's see what would happen here. I push inward, it doesn't come down to the smallest cog. So the derailleur is now limited in its outer range too much. So I need to loosen the H screw in this case, and it should drop down quickly. And again, I pull on it, it doesn't come out. That would be a good setting for the H screw. The L screw is the inward limiting screw. It's going to control that innermost position, the cog that's right next to the spokes. So what we want to do here is check that the L screw is not too loose or too tight. So the concept is similar, except here we're getting up the cassette stack a little bit toward the inner sprockets. Then I'm going to push again. Push and see if that shifts up, but not over. So this one setting here does seem to be adequate. It does go up to it. It doesn't shift off into toward the spokes, and it also makes it to that gear easily. A cable setting should be able to simulate what we are doing, pushing. So let's see what a bad setting would be. This is an example of a problem with the L screw, the inward limit screw. At first, we're just going to shift with our index shifter. We're going to click, and it does seem to shift pretty well. It gets to that cog nicely, it drops down nicely. It doesn't seem like there's a problem, but this is a very important double check. We're again going to pedal and manually shift. We're going to push on that and see what happens. And this is what's happened. The inward limit on this setting was actually too much out. It's too loose. It's allowing us to go up in behind this cassette, and that's toward the spokes. We could definitely rip off and break our hanger. That is a problem. Let's discuss a little further why we like to push in addition to using the shift lever. When you're using the shift lever and we're watching it, especially in the repair stand, we click up with our thumb and we naturally stop there. In a race situation, you're going to be very tense. You're going to shove very hard with your thumb. There could be a lot of bounces. There's a lot more stress in a race on you, on your body, and your equipment than training, or even in the repair stand. That's why we like to make sure it's pushed all the way to that inward limit. So this H screw here is too loose. Now an example, if this L screw is too tight, we run it in too much, we have a narrow range of motion. If we push, it doesn't really want to go. It's barely going. That one's going to be a slow, maybe an impossible shift. That is too tight, too restrictive an L setting. So this one we need to back outward until we achieve good shifting, but don't go beyond into the killer spokes. Now let's have a look at a basic index adjustment. That's the click at the derailleur is going to make this upper pulley, the G pulley, move one cog at a time and put the chain underneath and position it on our cassette stack. So a very basic setting before even fine tuning begins is one click at the lever and we got one gear. I'm going to repeat that. One click at the lever, we got one gear. From there on, we can continue one at a time but if we don't even have that basic setting, don't even bother going further toward the spokes there. So let's see what a bad setting is like. So as an example of a gear setting that's not even hit the basic of 1 click for 1 shift, this is a very, very slack and saggy cable. So it's on purpose here to show you a bad example. Here's 1 click, and I did not go 1 sprocket. Don't make the mistake of keep going. If I go, oh, it seems like it did shift. I've gotten 1 sprocket back here, but if you counted the shifts, we're already on the 3rd cog in the shift lever. So it does seem to shift at first, but when you get to these high gears, it doesn't want to shift. It thinks it's already on that last cog because you threw out a position way at the beginning. So again, 1 click should get you 1 gear before you worry about anything else. So we have our basic setting of 1 click, 1 gear. Let's fine tune this a little bit and give a little better setting here. We can keep shifting inward and inward, and we should now discuss symptoms of the cable having too much slack or not enough slack. Mechanics will talk about tighter or looser settings. They're talking about slackness there. So we're turning again our barrel adjusters outward, takes up slack. Mechanics call that tightening the setting. If you turn this barrel adjuster clockwise, it's going to give you more slack, so-called looser setting. So this setting does seem okay, but we're going to try and find some symptoms of problems here. I'm going to go counterclockwise outward. That was about a half a turn. And if it's still shifting good, that is the setting you want to be at. The longest lasting setting will be the least slack, the most counterclockwise, that still allows good shifts to everything. If we keep going further, let's make a problem with this bike. There's a slight rattle. Can we hear that noise? A slight rattle. Let's see if we can find a worse one. There it is. That's a rattle. Let's see the source. We have what we call an excessive noise here. There's always going to be a slight gear type noise, the chain striking the rollers and the teeth, but this noise is right underneath. This chain is positioned too far toward the spokes. That's going to be rubbing the next cog inboard. So the rub is happening right down here, that light rub. So this setting here has come out too much. So we need to come back in. Let's go a half a turn. It's better. There's still a very light rub. Good. That 1 cog there is good. We're now positioned so that we're not striking the next cog inward. What we're looking for in our index setting, controlled by the barrel adjusters here, that's the in-between cogs. Barrel adjuster controls where the click of the lever places the guide pulley and brings our chains to the cogs as we pedal. We're looking for the best setting that allows a good shift over the whole range. And this setting here is a good example here. We go up to this easiest gear ratio, the largest sprocket, and then down. It seems pretty good. It's dropping nicely. We're shifting well. But if I get down toward the outer cogs, the smaller cogs, that was a click, and notice how slow it is. It's not even dropping. So we have a problem. These cogs up here are fine, but as we come down to these cogs, that is showing a symptom that this setting is too far out. We need more slack. Giving it more slack allows it to come outward more, and that's exactly what we need. So let's bring this in clockwise about a half a turn, and then it dropped. So this setting here This appears to be the best setting across the whole range. Notice we did drop nicely. We do want these cogs here. This is the best setting we have for our racing, going uphill, powering along the flats, sprinting. We're dropping down to our big gears for the sprint. And the last cog, the sprint cog for victory. We have them all. Let's talk about problems that you may have. If you seem to have, in one direction, a poor adjustment, say it seems like our cable adjustment's too tight, we don't have enough slack, but coming down, it's the opposite. For some reason, it's as if it's too loose. If you have opposite symptoms, you might consider cable friction. If there's a lot of friction, an old rusty cable, or just a lot of dirt, it's not going to allow the clicker at our lever to transmit the motion to the rear derailleur. So if there's a friction in the system again, it will move poorly both directions. That's one problem. A second issue that you can run into is if this hanger is bent. The rear hangers become bent by smashing into things, by falling, by having people run into you, but it takes a good impact to bend this piece of metal here. That can be realigned with the derailleur alignment gauge. That's something that the coaches can help you with and can be checked, but that will also cause poor shifting. The whole angle, the body of the derailleur will be at the wrong position to the sprockets, and it simply is not going to shift well. With a lot of age in use, derailleurs can also develop a lot of slop or play. This one's actually pretty normal, but you can grab the back tail and the front end and give it a jiggle. When these develop a lot of motion here, they're going to be very inconsistent on their shifting. So that's another wear aspect that can cause problems shifting.